Happy Tuesday and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Rocketeer Minute, where each and every day, Monday through Friday, we go over 1 minute of the greatest adventure movie Walt Disney's ever made, the 1991 Joe Johnston-directed feature, The Rocketeer. I'm one of your hosts, Jim O'Kane of TVDads.com.
And I'm Hal Bryan, an airplane nerd from the Experimental Aircraft Association here in Oshkosh, Wisconsin. And Jim, once again, it's our good fortune, our great good luck, to welcome back fellow podcaster Tom Taylor from the world-renowned even, Indiana Jones Minute. Tom, thanks for coming back for another episode.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
It's always exciting talking to a newbie with the Rocketeer, and you are you're a first-time watcher, which is it's always amazing. To Hal and I are we're jaded, grizzled veterans of this movie.
That's right.
It's nice getting fresh hot takes.
I'm chomping on a cigar as we speak.
Wow.
And I
never
refer to
understood
Jim
that.
as kid and, tell him how many times I've been around the block.
Yeah.
I've been in this podcasting biz 20 years, man and boy.
Exactly.
Listen, Pally.
Yeah.
In my day, we called it radio.
Ah,
Yeah.
everybody heard it at once, eh? I'm Edward G. Robinson all of a sudden, eh?
Yeah. See this rod? It's a curtain rod. Yeah,
curtains for
for you. Yeah.
Oh, they're lovely.
Wafting curtains. Well, anyway, that's somewhere in all this is a movie about a guy with a rocket pack. But do you think they're both Disney properties now? Do you think that the Rocketeer and the Indiana Jones could coexist?
I don't see why not.
Huh?
I mean, a comic book, something has to. Yeah.
We've shared a picture on the Rocketeer Minute Facebook page quite a while ago. Might even been when Pete was on. I'm trying to remember, but I picked up a print at C2E2 there in your neck of the woods, Tom.
Oh, sure.
A few years ago, maybe a year ago. I'm drawing a blank now on the name of the artist, but we have shared it before. But it's this wonderful, late 30s, early 40s style movie poster. Obviously fictitious, for a film called All-Star Commandos. And you've got Indiana Jones, Captain America, and the Rocketeer.
Oh, wow.
Just all down there in the thick of it, surrounding a tiger tank and punching the Nazis that dare stick their heads out. And I'm just thinking I would watch that movie all day, every day for the rest of my life.
Gosh, yeah. Wow.
Till the lasers burned a hole through the Blu-ray.
Take my money.
Exactly. For now, we have the art, and it sits in that special place in my basement that says, "I wish I had more walls."
We all have that. It's just wrapped. If you could ever unroll all the tubes,
yes,
it'd be quite a thing.
Yeah.
But we were watching. He's taking careful notes of Clifford is writing down. Who I am assuming that hand is not Billy Campbell. I'm always, every time I see a close-up of something, I'm assuming it's Joe Johnston doing it the way he wants it.
I wonder that about everything, like every TV show or every movie. I wonder, okay, did they get, so-and-so's hand? Like, did he come onto the set and write that out and perform his own hand? Or did they get some hand guy
Yeah, hand model.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny, too, in this close-up scene, we're seeing, that sort of that wallboard note thing, lots of phone numbers and exchanges, and you see HA exchange several times. And then right up to the by the top left corner of the notepad itself that Clifford's writing on, there's what I think is the world's smallest game of Hangman.
Oh, yeah.
That's going on up there.
Yeah.
And it looks like
That's
somebody
hysterical.
lost. And then I think there might be it's Hangman, and then there's a couple of conjoined twins that are watching from the right-hand side.
Yes.
And the word looks to me like it was flight, which I think, which would be very...
Or Elisa.
that could be too.
Elise,
Flight makes a little more sense.
So you guys see the name of some skite.
Yeah.
And me, I'm seeing something aviation related. That's the story of my life.
I just see a little R2-D2 and a C-3PO.
Well, of course, yes, exactly. Little hieroglyphs. They're everywhere.
Yeah, but who in the 1930s would be playing Hangman on the phone? That doesn't seem...
Yeah.
It was
hanging, and you have to stand up and you're talking. What's that you say?
Yeah.
No, I'll say M.
Yes.
M? Nope, not an M. Here's another
Yes.
line.
C2.
You just got a neck.
Yes. You sank my battleship. Yeah.
It was one of the first online games.
Yeah.
It's 1938. The state of the art.
The first nerd.
I'm running out of nickels. Are there any vowels? Oh, dear. It's just, very confusing, but there's a whole other, it's that thing that's in Buckaroo Banzai. In Buckaroo Banzai, when they walk past the watermelon with the electrode stuck in it.
Oh, yeah.
The guy said, I'll explain it later.
Yes.
And they never did.
Yeah, darn. So anyway, just the mystery of that is Joe Johnston movies.
Yeah. And I said yesterday that, if somebody called me with instructions on what to do about the kidnapped person that I wanted to get back and everything. I would write it down. Watching this makes me realize I would not be able to read my own handwriting if I was writing something down that fast.
I have to go to Gribbles.
What is it? Give up?
I'm supposed to bring H something. Sure. Maybe I'm supposed to bring a ham. I think is what that says, the second line. Griff Hobbs bring ham.
I sunk my own battleship? What is this? Oh.
Flora clock? Wait, Flora? Wow. And then we cut to that beautiful split diopter image, the nice 40s deep focus thing that was always a kind of a William Wyler effect of where everybody's in focus. Yeah. The left hand side of the screen, we've got Eddie carrying away poor Jenny in that beautiful dress.
Yeah,
heading off into the night. Why are they at different ends of the? Where is he? Oh, actually, he's going to put on his suit because he's wearing, right now, he's wearing his suspenders and his open button collar.
Right.
But when he shows up later at Griffith Park at 4 o'clock, he's
of course, he's all better
carefully
dressed.
tailored in a tux.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that stare when you've got Timothy Dalton is staring down the hall, he's watching this happen. And then he turns and walks away, and Paul Sorvino's just a statue down there at the end of the hall. It's he's so
that continuous power struggle between the number 3 jerk and the guy that has a nightclub to rebuild and an ulcer to put on.
Well, is Timothy Dalton hiding from the phone down at the end of the hallway? Like, it seems like he didn't want to hear Cliff. He didn't want Cliff to hear him breathing or something. Like, if he was too close to the phone, the jig would have been up or something.
Yeah, and where's Lothar?
Yeah,
I don't.
He's probably downstairs finishing his chicken.
Oh, yeah.
He had a whole big plate of chicken, and we know he sprinkled some herbox on it.
Yeah, for flavor.
So for an extra burst of good poultry goodness.
Yeah.
But
who is that going off with Spanish Johnny? Like Spanish Johnny has him in hand.
Yeah.
But who's the other guy that he's walking off with? Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Oh,
I don't either.
Is that Mike?
My go-to reaction was to say that it was Mike.
Yeah, but it doesn't look like Mike.
No, it doesn't.
Because we know he's there later because Frankenstein isn't bulletproof.
There's a 50-50 shot. It's Joe Johnston, even though it looks nothing like him. Because, you don't know who that is. It's probably Joe Johnston.
I happen to notice that bad razor burn on Timothy Dalton's left ear. It looks like they went with the straight edge a little too tight.
Oh man!
And then had to go styptic pencil on him or something. But
do they still make styptic pencils? Is that still a thing?
I think so. Now I've got to Google it.
I ranked that there with smelling salts and cherry phosphates from yesterday. Yeah. All those other things that you tend to sort of pigeonhole in a certain period.
Well, yes, Clubman, famous for all those barbershop stuff. Like if you want to buy Bay Rum, it's Clubman Bay Rum Pinode. Styptic pencils, they're $1.99 at Target.
Wow.
So
just in
I
case.
am willing to bet that if you walk into Target and find the first person in khakis and a red polo shirt, which I myself wore into Target once by accident, and I will never do that again. But I bet if you walk into Target, find the first sort of young person you see and say, "Excuse me, can you direct me to the styptic pencils?" I think there would just be a lot of quiet silence. I just can't imagine.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm being quiet right now, because I'm going to admit I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Styptic pencils, if I remember correctly, they were made out of alum. Is that correct? Basically, what barbers typically had a styptic pencil in their tray of goods when they were using a straight edge razor, and if they accidentally nicked you, they'd rub a styptic pencil on it, and it would instantly. It's what's known as an anti-hemorrhagic. It soaks up blood and stops the blood flow.
And it's probably alum, asbestos, and mercury, just like everything else at the time.
Yeah, and, it's probably I'm sure they've switched to something else that doesn't cause lawyers to show up and tell you how you can make millions.
If it's bad, here's like a block of lead you can just chew on.
Yes, yeah, I do know. Having had minor oral surgery today, the choice of doctors is a silver nitrate, which apparently what it does is it attacks the upper epithelial layer and kills them and forms like a scarring chunk of cells that lets healing begin, because your body just kind of fills in the blanks. It turns your upper skin into chicken wire.
Well, it's always back to the chicken. Wow. We got chicken wire, we got chicken herbox, we got Lothar eating a plate of chicken.
It's just never read WebMD, because you just don't want to know. That's all there is to it. But somewhere there was a styptic pencil and Timothy Dalton's ear met at one point, I think. So much in this 1 minute.
And we're only a few seconds in. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He hasn't even yelled at the
exactly.
kid yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when he does, we love our segues
Yeah.
on this show.
He left out.
do.
He left out the backhand. He should have just like held up the back of his hand.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
said, shut up.
Oh, you know what's funny though that he yells at her, and then he instantly sort of kneels down. He apologizes and everything. That to me seems like real Billy Campbell right there. That's how
Yeah.
I picture. That's how I imagine him acting. Like
Yeah. He even yells.
Yeah,
at her.
exactly.
His snap at her is not very snappy.
No.
It's very like, oh, come on, I'm on the phone.
listen,
Yeah, and
kidnapping,
he-
extortion, murder, Nazis. Just
Yeah.
give me
Yeah.
a break, kid.
I got a lot on my mind.
And he also somehow believes that Patsy does not know who the Rocketeer is, even though everybody at the air show, everybody in the diner knew who the Rocketeer was. He's like, remember the Rocketeer? Yeah, well, he's going to help me. Him and
Yeah,
Santa Claus
exactly.
are all coming.
The Easter Bunny, the Tooth Fairy, they're coming too.
Yeah. They're coming from that puppy farm we sent your dead puppy to.
Wow.
Oh, gosh. I keep looking at those dishes, and all I keep thinking is are those the kind that break? It looks like one of our friend Ryan's works. There's a stack of plates that just are asking to
Right.
get smashed.
Yeah, they almost all got to be breakaway. You would think that you would do that just since there's going to be fight scenes and everything else, and who knows who's going to improvise what and when. But I don't know.
Apparently, the Bulldog Cafe never closes or
Right.
locks.
Yeah.
I guess they're
Well, maybe
out in the country.
Patsy has a key,
Yeah, she came through the
but
front door.
Yeah.
we have no idea what she's doing up, why she's out and about.
She sleeps under the counter, I think.
Yes.
It could be.
Got a little bunk under there.
Yeah.
Some comic books.
Somebody's,
She's not quite done washing dishes for the day.
yeah.
Right. She's still
And,
paying off her lunch.
Yes, at the end of the week she gets a nickel. Oh, that could be.
It's a hard
anything is
knock life.
possible.
That's all it is.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And Jim, you remember you brought this up when we were offline that Billy talked a little bit about this scene
Yes.
with America Martin, how she had sort of run up against her allotted sort of child labor law hours for the day. Unlike her character, who can work 24/7,
Right.
but
No
in
pay.
1991 we were a bit more civilized with child labor, so she'd run up against her time, and for some of the back shots,
Yeah,
some of the shots of
reaction
Billy,
shots, yeah, the-
reaction
yeah.
shots. Billy is talking to a paper plate with a smiley face
Yes.
written or drawn on it.
Yes.
That's a mean
So-
thing to say. You're saying that literally.
Yes,
Oh, I get
literally.
it. Okay.
Yes, we're not
I thought you were-
disparaging America Martin's acting abilities here.
I mean, I know she's not coming on the
bless.
show. That doesn't mean you have to call her
Yeah.
a paper
No.
plate
Well,
with
it's
a
not
face
over
drawn.
yet. Never say never. We also don't yet have our framed cease and desist letter from Jennifer Connelly. So
Boy can
we,
dream.
well,
Yeah.
yes, we never give up.
Yeah.
And Jim, as I'm sure you well know, at the time of this film is taking place, paper plates has been around for about 34 years.
Really? Okay.
They came into playing. It was earlier than I thought. But in fact, this guy Martin Keyes was even thinking about him in the late 19th century, and he was at a veneer plant in New York, and he saw the workers there. They would eat their lunches off of these thin sort of waste pieces of maple, and he said, "Well, that's pretty interesting. That's a disposable plate. It's made out of maple veneer, which is not maybe the cheapest way to do this."
Splinters was tough. But
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. But it's got that hearty maple flavor.
Yeah.
So he started working on machines and figuring out a way to do this, and then he got a patent on it and everything else, and rolled them out in 1904 as part of the Keyes Fiber Company.
Wow.
I want someone to make a biopic of that and just that moment when he sees the guy eating lunch off this.
Wait a minute.
These round,
Yeah.
thin things that are not plates.
Did either of you guys see the film Flash of Genius with Greg Kinnear?
No.
No.
So I will go on record as saying that is the most fascinating film about intermittent windshield wiper blades I have ever seen in my entire life.
Wow.
It blows all the competition out of the water. It is actually I
Strong
thought it was
words.
An excellent film, and it's a biopic about the guy who came up with the idea for the intermittent setting on your wiper
And
blades.
he had
That's
like
awesome.
a massive lawsuit against Ford and Dodge, I think.
Yeah.
And it went on for
Wow.
years. Just okay. Yeah.
So yeah, highly recommended if you like that sort of thing.
Wow. As compared with like the founder, I did enjoy the founder made me totally rethink McDonald's. It's just like, wow, what a
See, it gave me a real mixed relationship with McDonald's because part of me said, this guy's a little bit of a jerk. And then the rest of me said, God, their fries are so good.
yeah.
We've been talking about it for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I know they're open.
And we will actually. We're going to hopefully be having one of the lesser stars. Actually, he's not a star. He's kind of an add-on player. David DeVries, who is one of the golfing buddies of Michael Keaton in that movie, will be on.
Oh wow!
Is he the one that Keaton throws the hamburger at?
No, he's on the. Well, we'll let him tell the story. He's on the golf course talking about
spoilers.
Talking about what kind of control they wanted over McDonald's, and
right?
How they were going to vote him out and all this other jazz. But it was, he does that kind of a role. He's kind of you'll know him when you see him. He's one of those guys. He's the Whit Bissell of the 21st century. So.
Somebody in sort of the Rick Overton club with a mere 171 credits to his name.
He's right in there, and you'll recognize him immediately. Like we're looking at right now. We're looking at Ed Lauder saying a nice clever thing with poor trigger discipline saying "Remember us."
Remember me. Kidding. Finger on the trigger, and interesting to see that the what is it? It's about second 40, second 39, second 40. We've noticed this before, but you can see. That these revolvers are loaded.
Nice, big round bullets.
Right, and presumably these are non-firing versions, or they're loaded with special blank only sorts of things. But
one would hope.
But I think anybody would forgive them if you just sort of saw dark holes in those cylinders and didn't. You would assume the lighting was such you couldn't tell for sure.
Yeah.
But as it is, there's something tangible there.
Yeah, I keep wondering. I mean, we talk about trigger discipline, and everybody gets kind of cuckoo crazy about trigger discipline every time they see bad ones of it in a movie. But I was wondering, at the time, did G-men have trigger discipline in the 30s? Did they learn to put their finger alongside the barrel instead of on the trigger itself?
I would certainly that was certainly a thing by the time I came along into law enforcement in the very, very late 80s, right at the end there. It was certainly well established. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if sort of the glory days of the G-men, that it really wasn't a thing, that it was, you'd be ready to shoot first and ask questions later, that sort of thing.
They got paid by the bullet, didn't they?
Yeah. They probably did. And Jim, we've got a G-man, a retired G-man out there who's interested in coming on the show, and so that's something we need to.
We can pull him up and say, explain yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Give us the straight dope there.
What's going on here? When you're trying to capture a guy with an illegal rocket pack, But I guess with a revolver, you still have to pull the hammer back, and it's not a hair trigger thing that you're dealing with, so it might not be as immediate, but still.
And even these would be. You can pull the hammer back and set it, but otherwise, it's still one long trigger pull, but it's a lot of pressure for that first round in particular. So
and probably a really loud noise in that tiny diner. And of course, it's kind of difficult not to notice that America Martin has disappeared. We've got 4 guys trained on a 10-year-old girl in the cross, and they're aimed at each other. So.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, well,
this will end well.
Yeah.
Well, that's sort of the E.T. sensibilities when we came back, in Spielberg's special edition, and we removed all the guns because you don't have guns and kids in the same scene. And then of course he later said he regretted that. But
it's peculiar. Anyway, we leap out of the bulldog for pretty much the rest of the movie until the cheerful ending. But we're back with Peavy explaining with his glasses what he did to fix the X3, how he managed to do that with the help of a circular slide rule.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, you've got that. He's drawing on the diagram there, as he said, that circular slide rule, which I wish I had gotten a better look at. It was the second time we've seen this. I can never quite make out the model number because it's basically akin to an E6B, which is the circular slide rule we still use in training private pilots to this day. Even in the 21st century, as hard as that is to believe, it's still required learning. It's basically that, except it doesn't have the E6B. The whole round part slides up and down on a larger rectangular piece for additional calculations, and this doesn't look like it's configured for that at all. There's no sort of transparent section. So there's a whole series of. They started with the Army Air Corps, a whole series of flight computers like that, and you would do things like, well, I'm flying at 130 miles an hour, and I'm knowing burning 8 gallons of gas per hour. How much fuel am I going to have left after I've flown for 47 minutes, things like that. And you can do those calculations very, very quickly if you know how to use these things. But I've never quite been able to identify, this particular black version there with the sort of the yellow flash on it.
Any idea on that beautiful chronometer that Howard has on his wrist? The three dials inside, and
oh wow,
gosh, you could You could circumnavigate the globe with that thing. Just a gorgeous piece. I still want to know where the oxidizer comes in on this rocket pack. It just drives me crazy. Every time I see the thing, there's a single line with fuel, but there's no oxygen anywhere in the system. So it confounds me.
Alan Arkin here says the most important word in all of TV or movie engineering. He says bypass. If you're ever explaining anything, any kind of technical stuff, you're bypassing something. There's maybe like a...
Yeah, unless you're using a computer, then it's override.
Oh, yeah, you can override.
Yeah, you bypass, you override.
Or, there's like a manifold maybe somewhere.
Yeah.
Or, coupler. There's a coupler. There's going to be a coupler somewhere, yeah.
The solenoid, yeah.
Yeah.
In The Force Awakens, Rey is messing with the Millennium Falcon with Han Solo, and she bypasses the compressor.
Yeah. There you go. That saved everything.
That's how she gets the hyperdrive working again.
Oh.
It's like if you can bypass something, or if you're on Star Trek, if you can channel something through the main deflector dish, then you're golden.
Yes.
And try an inverse polaron field. That's the other important thing to have.
Polaron, tachyon,
if you have tachyons,
whatever it
you're
takes.
good. Yeah.
So I think the key is when you're designing something is figure out what you're going to need to bypass later and then just not build that into it.
Right. Or at least make it very easy.
Yes,
exactly. Just have your sort of bypass built in kind of.
Yeah, just a switch that says bypass the thing.
Yeah. Well,
and
the thing that bothers me with bypass as one of my other great loves is locomotives. And there was an early locomotive that was in Charleston, South Carolina that was put in, and it had a pressure relief valve that would, after the pressure in the boiler had built up, there would be a relief valve that would let the pressure off. And the engineer that was running the thing, who didn't understand quite how it all worked, was really tired of the noise of the frequent pressure valve letting off a loud burst of steam. So he tied it down. And that was the result of the first fatalities in American locomotives when the thing exploded. And whenever it says bypass the pressure valve, I keep thinking, you can't really bypass something that's a pressure valve because it's usually there to stop the pressure. But
just because you can bypass something doesn't mean you should.
That's a good lesson.
Yeah.
That's a T-shirt right there.
Yes, it is.
Just basic aviation, like Peavy says.
Like putting a rudder on the helmet. Which it's really not a lot of surface area for a rudder, and it's kind of in the wrong place. But that's fine because that helmet is a work of art.
It is.
Well, and
says Hal, looking fondly at his own on display behind him.
And of course, we get back to. Howard's changed ties yet again. In the time since we last saw him, he's in yet another bar Dexter tie. That meaning the stripe is on the up on the right hand side of the tie, and he just really is a major fashion statement.
Well,
Lord knows he can afford them.
Yeah,
exactly. They're probably disposable.
Yeah,
right.
He probably went to the guy who
hour.
made the paper plates.
Yeah,
and said, "How about a tear-off disposable
I
tie?"
need an intermittent tie.
Intermittent tie. Yes.
And Peavy's still wearing his that vest that Billy says looks, it's a common vest that you can order, but to me it still looks like a suit with the sleeves cut off.
It's the late 30s equivalent of wearing cut-off jeans.
Right.
He's going to repurpose this garment one more time.
He's the first hipster.
And he has gotten over getting his...
He was a hipster before it was cool. Yeah. That's amazing.
Just in the wrong valley. He should have been Silicon Valley a little bit further north, but he has... and he apparently got over getting his facial, too. The grill seems to have not affected the right-hand side of his face, so that all worked out.
Yeah, that's true. And
is Alan Arkin the greatest national treasure that we have?
I can't think of any greater actor that... To have him in a movie, it just instantly makes it that much better.
Yeah, I mean, is there a bad movie that he's in, or a movie that isn't at least passable because he's in it?
He made Get Smart a great movie. I mean,
I didn't see that, but I believe you completely.
Steve Carell did an adequate Maxwell Smart, but having Alan Arkin as the chief was ideal.
Yeah,
he was just a star.
I completely forgot that he was in it. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
There's a line of his that I quote constantly from The In-Laws.
Serpentine?
It's barely a line of dialogue. It's not even that. It's like Peter Falk it's like early in the movie, and they've had some family dinner or something. It got disrupted by Peter Falk stuff, and Peter Falk is apologizing, and Alan Arkin just goes, "Hey, listen," and that's it. Like just the way he says that is hysterical. He's like, it's kind of like just passing it off, like he's obviously annoyed, but he's trying to be nice. Hey, listen. It's one of my favorite lines in any movie.
He is one of those guys. He just gives the line, and you believe it. He's always comfortable. He always seems like he's perfectly at home in his own skin. And I fall in love over and over again with so many of his lines in this movie. When he asks Cliff if his eyes are painted on.
Yeah.
Did you not see that? Are your eyes painted on?
This is just occurring to me. He and Jeff Goldblum and Jimmy Stewart. I never put him in I always thought Jimmy Stewart and Jeff Goldblum always, whatever movie they're in, it always seems like the movie was written for them.
Yeah.
Like everything they do sounds
He
like
really
that.
is.
And he's kind of like that too. Like you're like, oh, they got in Alan Arkin's guy to write his dialogue or something.
A week ago today, we had the screenwriter Danny Bilson on, and he said he had not pictured Peavy anything like Alan Arkin. And he was expecting like a Joe Pesci fast talking, you know what I mean, kid?
Wow.
And it was, I mean, kind of like the way Martin Balsam was originally supposed to be C-3PO, that he had a completely different take. And it worked. I mean, it was just, he's so calm in this thing and talking to Clifford like he's his, preteen son going, Clifford, you've got to be,
That's
this doesn't belong to you. And
well, it was interesting too. Bilson had said that, he was originally thinking of Pesci also for Eddie Valentine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then had talked about, he was, I think we'd asked him, if you picture sort of anybody from any era who would have, you would have chosen for Peavy. And not that he doesn't think that Alan was a great fit ultimately, and he came up with William Demarest from, who I always think of My Three Sons, right?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think of him in All Through the Night. He's just such, he was a great, perfect 40s movie star. I mean, by the time he got to My Three Sons, it was kind of like the end of his career. But yeah, when he was always that fast talking guy, listen, you can't. And he brought that really to My Three Sons as well. But I can't picture anyone else but Alan Arkin now as Peavy because it's such his role.
I don't think there's a role in this movie that I look at and I can easily imagine somebody else in. At least not a role of any sort of significance.
I keep trying to think of somebody else besides Timothy Dalton. I mean, he's perfect in the role.
Yeah.
But I just keep thinking, could you have put anybody else in there?
Could you plug in there that could play, the evil, larger than life Errol Flynn? I don't know.
Yeah, he's perfect.
Carrie Elwes is too. I think he's too pretty. I don't think
he's too nice. Maybe.
Yeah,
nice, you wouldn't buy him as like
enough. He can carry off the small mustache, and he's got the sort of the classic Hollywood idol sort of look about him.
Well, and for Alan Rickman could have done it, but he was in Robin Hood at the same time.
Oh, right.
So it wouldn't have worked. But yeah, he would have possibly. You try to think of all the British archetype actors.
Alan Rickman would have been pretty fascinating, but it's hard to buy him as for the overtly charming pieces of it.
Yeah, he has that more of the Hans quality from Die Hard.
Yes,
he's just
exactly.
Just detached and not really that interested in the woman that he's with.
Hans Gruber / Bill Clay in Die Hard.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got the quiet sophistication. He could carry that all off. I struggle imagining him delivering some of the sort of the schmaltzy romantic lines to Jenny Blake.
And of all the people that have played Howard Hughes, I don't think Terry O'Quinn could be topped on this one. I can't see Leonardo DiCaprio doing this, too young. And I mean, even though that he was the right age for that, he was a very young guy when this was going on. He was like in his mid 30s and stuff.
Right.
And here, more of an older Terry O'Quinn really comes across not that crazy either.
Yeah.
He's more like
it's
determined.
just he's just determined. He's
and
committed.
in charge.
Yeah, and in charge, and he'll have his own way regardless. And you're the FBI. Too bad I'm Howard Hughes. You work for me.
Yeah. And this being back far enough that it's before Lost, so you don't think of him as, I mean, you do now.
Right.
You don't think of him as coming out of Lost.
Yeah. Or Alias, another favorite of mine.
Yeah, that's true.
I think Dean Stockwell's Howard Hughes could maybe be like,
if
he's not playing, he could play this Howard Hughes too, I think. Not just the weirdo, spooky guy.
Yeah.
Sure.
You needed somebody with that aura of leadership, and I think he carries it here without being all telling Riker to fight the Romulans.
Exactly.
Right.
And Riker, who was almost Billy Campbell. Strangely enough.
Vice versa.
Or vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always love this scene because we could be seeing Cliff get set up for, a whole third or fourth act of frustration. He could be tied up with the FBI forever, trying to convince them, no, I'm the good guy, they've got my girl, and they could be sweating him in a cell somewhere. And they could have made that more prolonged and painful. And instead, they show up at the Bulldog, they bring him to Howard Hughes, and we see Peavy's already there. Mm-hmm. It's all already been smoothed out. It's all already been taken care of. And it's this great relief. And then, of course, to see Howard Hughes, we've been talking about him. He's in charge of everybody, but he's fascinated by what Peavy has to say because he knows Peavy had found an engineering approach that didn't occur to him.
And they're both engineer. They're both like, it's like Peavy was talking earlier about how Clifford doesn't understand that Jenny doesn't go for all those Hollywood phony balonies. Right. She had said that. Peavy and Hughes are on par with each other. Yes, Hughes has millions of dollars, and Peavy works in a backwater runway place fixing Pratt & Whitney engines. But they're both on the level with each other about what's important, is making it a little bit better and tweaking things.
And there's a great mutual respect here. And Jim, if I were a lesser man, I'd say that in this scene, these are the real balonies as opposed to the phony ones. But I won't. I won't go there. I'm better than that.
You are. Stand up straight. Here we are. Yeah, it's just a beautiful moment with all of this, and before it all falls into really obvious exposition. But that's their job in this role. Howard Hughes is here to expose stuff, and we had relied on Peavy back in the air show to lay it all. He's trying to save your job, Cliff, but if he drifts into those race lanes, he's going to kill somebody. Oh, that's what's happening. That kind of thing. So now we got to find out about the war against the Nazis through cartoons. But that's all coming up in the future.
Yes.
But Tom, thank you so much for being part of these minutes.
Thank you guys. This has been great.
Glad you could make it here. I know you guys have the busiest schedule in all of podcasting. Even on hiatus, you're busy.
I'm glad to hear you say it.
But it's very, very much appreciated for you taking the time
to
be on the show. And somehow before this thing ends, we've got to get Jerry on because we've got 2 on the scorecard now.
Oh yeah.
Jerry's got to come in and
have
a question.
Yeah.
He's good. But for folks who haven't listened to the Indiana Jones Minute, what are you doing? I don't understand. Get over to IndianaJonesMinute.com. You can also find them on iTunes and Google Play and all that because it is one of the most worthwhile podcasts for you to burn many hours listening to.
That's nice to hear. We have a lot of fun.
It shows in every minute of your show. So folks, please check that out. They have super duper experts and things, and I enjoy it. I really, as I've said before, I've been late to many things listening to the Indiana Jones Minute. So, but you can find them IndianaJonesMinute.com, also on iTunes and Google Play. And by the way, we're also on all the internet stuff out there, like Twitter. Yeah. We're on Rocketeer Minute. You can find us on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Rocketeer Minute. Indiana Jones Minute is out there at the Indiana Jones and the Listeners Crusade. Go look for that at a browser near you.
Yes.
And you can find us on the great big site RocketeerMinute.com, where we've got lots of all the previous episodes and cool swag from Amazon. You can go buy lots of movies, and I'm sure Walt Disney will love you for it. So why don't we pick this up tomorrow as Howard gets to talk about the stakes as our week of exposition begins for the denouement. So join us here tomorrow on the Rocketeer Minute. Until next time, over and out.